Hey everybody, welcome to Live Coding with Jesse. I'm Jesse. Today we're going to work with a tool that I've never worked with before, and we're going to do some database stuff, which is not really common for us on this stream. Usually we handle front-end work, but Microsoft has come out with, and I don't know when this came out, but I just found out about it yesterday, SQL Operations Studio, and when we see it in a minute, you'll see it looks a lot like Visual Studio Code. It's an Electron app, which is cool to look at another Electron app since we started building one yesterday. But I finally got access to a database. So if you've been watching for a while, you know I've been talking about this for at least a few weeks now, probably longer. And so I had some of the people over in IT made a copy of the database that the main site for this university runs on, so franciscan.edu, which runs on a really old content management system that we want to migrate away from. But we want to try to get the data out of that database and put it in another database in a format that'll be better for whatever CMS we decide to use. Most likely WordPress, but I'm still open to other options. So we're going to look at the database in just a minute, but so far I think it's good, but I'd like you all to check it out as well, and then we're going to decide what the best way to transfer this is, and then maybe we'll try to do some tests to see what would work. I also have a lot of updates that need to be done for our Project 1, our Catechetical Institute site, and I'll talk about that at the end of the stream when we do the question and answer portion. So I had a meeting yesterday afternoon about that, which is why I didn't stream, and I'll probably be making all of those into issues on the GitHub repo, but I'd like to kind of talk through them first in today's stream at the end. Alright, so let me switch my view here. Alright, so this is it. This is the, I keep forgetting the name of it. It's Microsoft's SQL Studio. No, SQL Operations Studio. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yep. Alright, so basically, let's see is that big enough? Let me know if it's not big enough. I could make it bigger. So I don't know how many of you work with databases, but this query gets everything from content, right? So we have a table called content. We actually have quite a few tables here. Content will be the most important. That's where we get the majority of all the data. So you can see right now every piece of content has an ID, but what I'm really worried about here is the content title and then the content HTML. So this is good news that I think pretty much all the content on the site has this title and content HTML. We can grab that. That's all we need, really. We don't really need to keep the IDs. The only other piece of data that's going to be useful is, where are we at? Content. There's a content type, which I can't find now, but somewhere in here it's a content type. Now they're just numbers. So content type 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need to figure out what those numbers correspond to, but this should help us because the different content types will probably end up being different custom post types in our new CMS. So we need to make sure we bring them in as that. So we're not just going to bring all this in and have it be one giant table like it is now, but it depends. It really depends on the format that we need for our new CMS. But this is good news so far. Let me pull this up where we can see more of it at a time. And I'll bring that down. So there's a couple things that I think we really need to get out of the way just right off the bat. Number one, we got to change this color theme, right? We can't have this bright white stuff. So let's try, what do we see? This one looks good, Monakai. Or we could do default dark. That looks nice. We'll go with default dark now. I'm not sure if we can get a package for this and bring in a new theme. Oh, actually, it's letting us bring in the Seti icon thing. Very cool. Alright, so now that we have the background color set, now we can really get started. So, alright, so I guess first off what I want to do is open it up to anybody out there that has experience with databases. If you have any ideas to throw out, let me know. I'm going to throw out a few of my ideas to what I think the best course of action will be. And let's try to decide on one and maybe try something out in today's stream. So I don't really have that much of a goal other than just testing some things out. I've never done this before, so I don't really know what to expect in terms of difficulty and time. So if you have an idea, go ahead and throw it in the live chat. I'll check back in there in a minute or so. Otherwise, let me share with you some of my thoughts. So let's see. I'm thinking what we potentially could do is just export a lot of this data, whatever format that we would like, and then pull that data in basically to wherever. So one of the difficulties here, I guess I should mention this. I can only log in to this database from this computer on this network. So I believe that I'm granted access based on my IP address. I'll have to verify that with the people over in IT, but when I was trying to log on yesterday and then earlier today, someone from IT had to come over, and it was a lot of troubleshooting to try to give me access to this. So I have to be on a certain network here on campus. So that's going to limit us, right? So we couldn't just pull data somewhere else, right? It has to be here on this computer. So that may or may not be an issue. But what I'm thinking, and maybe there is already like a SQL way of doing this. I assume there might be. But in terms of what I'm familiar with, we could potentially pull this data out and then get rid of all the data that we don't need. So that's going to include a lot of these columns that we just won't need at all. But then also some of this data we don't need to transfer over. So some of this stuff isn't even live on the site anymore. It's obviously still here, but it's marked. I believe one of these columns will say whether or not something is actually live. So we need to get rid of all of those as well. And at that point, once we get it narrowed down to what we want, then we could see about transferring that. So here's my basic, probably don't have to look anything up way of doing this. Let me know if it's ridiculous. So we could potentially, and I think this sounds kind of silly, but I'm pretty sure it'll work. We could potentially just export this in Excel or as a CSV or JSON, right? But if we did that, we could just go in, delete rows, and we'd have all that data there in a format that wouldn't be too difficult to pull out and put pretty much anywhere we wanted. Okay, so that's my option. I guess the benefit of that would be we could very easily get a good idea of just how much of this we actually need. We could do some filtering, which could be useful just to see. Now, Umberto in the live chat has some ideas as well. So Umberto says, if we use SQL Server Management Studio, we can generate the SQL scripts for create table, insert statements, logins, users, etc. It says, let's see, that might cause issues with the column with the HTML. Let's see. I'm wondering. All right, so I'm going to ask you all if somebody has. Okay, so the exporting to a CSV or Excel, Umberto is saying it might cause some issues. All right, good to know. So let's go on to Plan B, right? Nicholas asks, what happened to Electron? I'm really excited for Project 6. Nicholas, we'll be going back to Project 6. We're kind of going to be jumping around a bit. Project 6 will receive updates periodically, and we'll keep checking in on it, and we will do some streams that will be dedicated entirely to it. But I don't really have a timeline for when that needs to be done. So I guess you can always check in, and when you get the notification, if you're subscribed to the channel, you get the notification of the title. Check if it's Project 6. If you're really only interested in that, then check that out. Otherwise, then you could skip the other stuff, I guess. Let's see. Okay, so here's my other idea. We could, let's see, how do we do this? So for this database, it's a copy, but I only have read access. I can't change anything within this database. But what we could do, I suppose, is create another database, and we could even use this tool. What's it? SQL Operations Studio. We could even use this tool to start to create some tables and things, and pull some of this stuff over. What I'm not sure about is, could we pull things directly from here and then insert them in another table, all within SQL Operations Studio. So as I mentioned earlier, I just started using this this morning. I downloaded it yesterday, couldn't connect to the database, and so I didn't really get a chance to use it till this morning. So that's something that I'm not sure if that would work, but if it did work, that would be great. I guess that's worth a shot, because the next step would be, I don't even know, the next step I guess would be, let's just try to pull this data out, put it somewhere else where we have read and write access maybe. We could manipulate it. I guess if we even just pulled it out somewhere that would be more accessible, so I didn't have to be here on my machine, that might be useful. We could try to create some sort of API to get info if we wanted to, because to be honest with you, I'm not really that familiar with the SQL queries. But if we could make a really basic API to do things, then we could use JavaScript to do a lot. So anyway, let's just mess around a little bit and try some things. So let's just connection. We're gonna create. I know that there's a way to create a database. Actually, you know what? Are we still... That may not work. I'm not exactly sure if I'm still connected to this server. I suppose I have to do everything on this server. Okay. Well, let's pull... I just want to go through this and see what we're dealing with in terms of how ridiculously long this would be. Documents. Documents. Okay, so obviously this is super long. Wow. There's definitely going to be some editing that needs to take place here. As I'm looking at some of this HTML, there's a lot of extra stuff in here that we're not going to use. That's unfortunate, but at least we can get some of the data. Okay. Hey, John Hansen just came in the live chat. How's it going? All right, so let's... You know what? Let's go back here and let's run a different query, because I definitely don't want to bother bringing in anything that's not currently live on the site. So let's check out our headings here. This is content status. I'm not sure what these stand for in the database. Let's see. Okay, so we do have published, which I'm assuming 0 is not published and 1 is published. So we can rule out anything, I guess, that's not published. Oh, okay, cool. So, Pat, my uncle Pat is in the live chat, and he said active and inactive is for the status. So awesome. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Okay, cool. So I'm then assuming we don't need to bother with the inactive. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not even sure why these are in here. These sound like blog posts. We don't even host the blogs here in the system. And a lot of these, wow. Let's check out the dates on some of these. I mean, we were talking events from 2015. Yeah. We definitely don't need a lot of this stuff. Alright, here's what I'm going to do too. Right now, this will help us out. Not right now, but later on. And this will be fun. Let me save this. I'm going to save this as an Excel file. It's going to be insane and huge. But I'm not going to open it. I'm going to send it to my boss. So, because my boss is in charge of all this content. And he's been here since before this site was even developed at all. So he's overseen everything that's gone into here. So he'll be able to tell much more quickly than I can what content in here should be kept and what should not be kept. So I'm not going to send that to him right now because that's not really going to be fun on the stream. But then that way he can take a look at some of it, maybe even tell me, hopefully there's some identifier in here that would help us out. At the very least, I suppose he may be able to say, any content types that are content type 3 that were put in there before a certain date, we can get rid of. That would be helpful. John Hansen says, who would and how would that HTML be imputed/generated, and where from? WordPress. We're going to probably WordPress. But yeah, so this data will be put into a different database, and then the content would then could be editable through that CMS, but we're still going to use the API to bring it in and pull it into our React site. Yeah, so the Excel, trying to open this in Excel has not crashed my computer yet, but it is taking forever. It's letting me do other stuff while I'm waiting on that, so I'll just wait on that. Over here on the side, I won't bother with it anymore. I'll look at it after the stream. Alright, so Umberto is saying we could try to create database name. Let's see. Create database, and I don't know, let's just call this no. Alright, let's go on connection. Alright, so it's asking me to put in a different address. So I just want to go into here. Let's see what happens. No. Is the password not in? Shoot, I didn't hit remember password. What was the password? I think that was it. Let me hit remember this time so I don't have to remember it again. No. Alright, let's cancel that. So that's it's not working right now. So for some reason I still have this in here, which I'm not going to mess with this now, assuming that maybe I'm not connected really, but it's just still showing me this because I did the query when I was still connected. So I am getting the login that I used for this was not the login that I will get hopefully soon. So if I can't remember this password, I'm not worried about it because I should be getting a new one soon. Let's see. I mean, I guess I could just open up the help page. Oops. No results found for create database. We started documentation. Alright, so we have Umberto asked if we'll be sticking with Microsoft SQL Server for your database. No, I will not be sticking with that for my database. So I guess it doesn't really matter. We shouldn't create it through here anyway. Also says you might not have grant permission for create a database. Yeah, I don't think I can change or do anything. I think I can just read data. Okay, so Umberto's saying the other option I use in dev is local DB, but I'm on Windows. I don't know if that works for Mac. Doubt it does. Okay, let's Alright, so let's think about this then. For sure, if we're going to go with WordPress, MySQL will be the database that we go with. If we go with a different system, I have no idea what we'll be using. So should we just try to do something then with MySQL? That might be the best bet right now. I guess that's kind of the only thing that we would kind of know about for sure that we want to use. Alright, so let's see if we can just get a local MySQL database going. Alright, it looks like... Can you not do this on a Mac? Has anybody installed MySQL on a Mac? Because there are no instructions for it that I'm seeing on the Oracle website. I guess we should just create a droplet on DigitalOcean. Alright, let's see if we can just create Yeah, actually, we could just create really quickly a WordPress installation. I mean, maybe that would just kind of really easily show us what would happen if we imported things in a certain way. All right, let's do that. So let me show you all this. So this is assuming that we're going to go with WordPress. This is the structure that we need. So if we install WordPress first, and we'll just do, we're not going to go through the whole installation process like we've done before. We'll just do the DigitalOcean one-click install. And we'll just spin up the droplet just to test. We'll do a really basic droplet, and then we'll just get rid of it when we don't need it anymore. But the only thing that we really need to worry about changing right now is this WP posts. Let's see. So actually, a lot of these fields match up pretty well with what we already have. Okay. All right, I think that'll work. I'll bring this over so we can see. So it's just DigitalOcean. I'm just going to go with this WordPress one-click install. We can't do a $5 droplet. If you do the install, if you start out just with like a Linux distro and install WordPress on your own, you can actually get away with running it on the $5 an hour droplet, which is nice. And it actually works. It'll run everything. I have WordPress sites. I'm just using the headless WordPress installs on $5 droplets that have been running for months and months and have been doing fine. But for now, just for speed, we'll be all right with the 10. I don't think we really don't need anything special, just for testing. So yeah, I don't. Let's monitor at least. Let's do iMac, MacBook Pro, and one droplet. Okay, the PDB test. All right, that works. Right? Yeah, that looks good. All right, let's create that. Oh, cool. So Michael is here, and Michael knows SQL or SQL. Actually, let me know in the live chat, what do you prefer to say? Or what do you think is the correct way to say it? SQL or SQL? I think SQL is easier to say, and so I go with that. But I do hear a lot of people saying SQL. Alright, so this is almost done. Great. So we should be able... I think we should be able to go here. Oh, this IP probably won't do anything. I wonder if you can do... Okay, so I have to SSH in, enable my WordPress installation. Okay. Not a problem. Let's copy that, and we got the terminal open already. Let me make this bigger so y'all can see. And I know I've completely forgotten about the Pomodoro timer for this one, but there's not a whole lot going on in the live chat, so I'm just gonna not do that for now. If I notice a lot of activity, then maybe we'll go back to it. But I've been able to keep up with the chat as we're going. So if I can keep doing that, we should be all right. Okay, got some votes here for SQL. All right, cool. Also, Kundananji, sorry if I mispronounced that, says, what happened to setting up an Electron project? We're going to go back to the Electron project. So we're going to kind of bounce around between projects, but we will go back to the Electron project at some point. The repo on GitHub is there, so feel free to check out what we have so far. It's set up pretty nicely, so it could certainly be forked at this point, cloned. You could work on it for your own projects or contribute if you'd like, but we'll get back to it. All right, John Hansen's asking about why the Microsoft SQL over MySQL, and isn't MySQL easier? Yeah, so what we're going to do is take that data out of that SQL Server database, and we're going to put it in to the MySQL that's running with our WordPress install. So we are moving away from that Microsoft server. Okay, I think this should get us in. Yep. All right, cool. We are in, and WordPress has been enabled. Wonderful. All right, so hopefully I can get into this WordPress install just with an IP address. If not, it wouldn't be a problem to make a subdomain, quickly. Okay, so it looks like I can use the IP. So let's try that out. It's the same. Yeah, that was the same one. Okay, cool. Username. Sorry, I can't show you the password. Let's go. Let me move this over and then do the password. So I'll change what was there and copy, fill. Wonderful. And I have to put in, I think sometimes for my work email, these emails from WordPress get blocked. So I'm putting in my personal email for that. Okay. Let's log in. Lennon says, can you give me hints on this question? Yeah, sure. What is your question? All right, awesome. So we have a WordPress install. We may as well just update this now before we do anything. I'd hate to actually do something and then update and have it mess up what we've done. So if you've never used WordPress before, this is what the admin panel looks like. WordPress updates are super fast and easy. You see that? It's already done. I couldn't even say what a WordPress update was before it finished. So you hit the update, Normally it's a good idea to back up a site first, but since we have nothing in the site, we didn't need to. And now it tells us all about what happened when we updated. We can also go down here, check out our plugins. This can be updated now. We're not even using it right now, but just to show you how easy it is to update that plugin, literally a few seconds. So what we'll do now is we'll go to, I guess we'll go in through here. How are we going to get in? Oh, sorry. So here's my idea. WordPress already comes with its WordPress API. Should we, or could we, use the API to put the data into the database instead of directly manipulating the database? Let me know what you all think. So if we were to directly manipulate the database, I would need to, I guess, be able to open up some type of tool to where I could read that database, because doing it all from the terminal I think would be somewhat more difficult. But at least if we use the API, it should put the data in properly. So I guess I could try it. Yeah, let's try it. The problem with the WordPress API is you really have to make sure you get a new tutorial, or even make sure you're on the right set of documentation, because it's changed so much since they first were working on it. There we go. This one looks pretty new, so hopefully this will work. Let me bring this over on the other screen so y'all can see what I'm doing. Let's see. Nick asks, why am I not using SQL Server Management? Probably because I'm not exactly sure what that is. So if I should be using it, let me know. Send me a link or point me in the right direction. I'll check it out. I guess I didn't say this yet. I'm really inexperienced when it comes to database stuff. So that's why I'm kind of relying on help from you all. So I know there's some of you that have a lot more experience with databases. So if you came here to learn a lot from me, you will be disappointed. But the other people that are watching the stream and talking in the live chat will probably be able to teach me and everyone else a lot. So I'm going to do my best to take their advice and read that out and then try to act on that. And I'm going to keep an eye on the clock just to make sure. Alright, so we haven't been going for an hour yet, so this is not too bad. Let's see. I want to API reference. Let's go to our posts. All right. I don't want to list post. Create a post. Here's what we want. Okay. Just going to create a post. Do we need... I suppose we need all of these. I guess they don't need to be... But no, there's no way we need all of it, because some of these can certainly be blank and they'll still be a post. So let's post. Alright, so we need to send a post request to this endpoint with this data. Alright, not too bad. All right, so here's what I'm thinking. Let me check in the live chat for a second here to see if someone else has a better idea before I share what I'm about to do. Lennon has a question about specifying how fonts should degrade. You should be able to just put font family, and then whatever font you want to display first will be first, and then put a comma, and then put the next font and a comma in the next font. So it could be something like the first font would be Roboto. Would you need to put that? You wouldn't need to put Roboto in quotes. It's just one word. So it'd be font family, colon, space, Roboto, assuming you've already brought in that font. And then comma, space, sans serif, comma, space, I don't know, whatever. So you probably, sans serif would be your second one. If you wanted something else to fall back on in between there, you certainly could put that in there. But that's generally how you would do it, and that's with CSS. So if you put that on whatever selector that you want for those fonts to degrade. So anyway, Lennon, let me know if you need more info or something like that. I can certainly address it again later on in the stream, or send me a message on Twitter. Show me a little bit of what you have that you're working with, and maybe I could help you more specifically. Let's see. So take a look on, Julian says, take a look on Docker and Docker Compose, save you $10 on Droplet, and run everything locally. You know what? Docker is a good idea. Maybe we at some point should end up doing things with Docker. I'm just going to keep going with what I'm doing right now just to save time, but I think that is actually a great idea to use Docker for something like this. If you don't know what Docker is, it's a way to set up, I guess you'd maybe call it something like a virtual server that can run on your machine. It can be copied, and so basically you have this identical environment anywhere you put that Docker container. So on the server, on your local machine, on someone else's local machine, no matter what, whether you're running Linux, Mac, Windows, no matter what type of server, you would have an identical environment within that container. So it's really cool, but I really don't want to try to set it up here during the stream, at least not during this stream, maybe in a future one. Okay, John Boyce says, I would be interested in seeing how to use an API to import data into a new database. Okay, so that's basically my idea now. So we did export the data. So let's do this. So we exported that data. Where's it at? Oh, over here. And let's go over. Yeah, so we've exported all our data into this gigantic JSON file. So what I was thinking was, let's do sorry, I lost my train of thought. I was reading something in the live chat. Apologies. Vasguen says, hello from Spain. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for joining us. John Hansen says, in order to have consistent HTML content, do you have to keep the styles simplified? Would it not be best to build a template in WordPress that all users need to use to submit with? Yeah, it'll be, well, I mean, you'll see when we get to that part. It'll be similar to the way we've done things with pulling data from the WordPress API, and that will give users certain fields to fill out with like validation on those fields. So they will only be able to put in certain things that we want them to put in, and there'll most likely be some sort of approval process as well. So we'll have student workers doing this, but unless they're experienced, they won't just be able to directly publish anything. So there'll be some checks on what kind of goes through there. All right. So here's what I'm thinking. We create and I'll probably do this, I suppose, in Node, because that's where I would know how to do this with. Let me know if there's a better way to do this, if we could do it like, straight from the command line or like a bash script or something. Maybe that'll be faster. But what we would do is we would grab all the, sorry, I think I just went off camera, so lean back. Well, we would grab, just like we were hitting an API endpoint, right? We would grab data from this JSON file, pull it in, we'd iterate over that, and each time we'd iterate over that, we would call this API endpoint, and we would post it, because I don't know if there's a way to bulk do post. Yeah, so unless we find some way to do bulk addition of posts with the API, we will have to do it one by one. But it would iterate through that, and then using this, it would send a post request to our site. So that's how the flow of data would go, from SQL Server to JSON, pull the JSON into Node, send it as a post request to the WordPress API, and then the WordPress API would insert that into a MySQL database underneath the WP post table. The nice thing that I like about this is that potentially, like, we're going to have differences between the fields that we have here and what we have in our the other database. So, for instance, when we have, not all of these match up properly. I don't even know if these dates are in the right format, right? But what we could do is when we do that iteration, every time we pull in data from the JSON file, we could have, some mutations of the data going on. So we could have something that, like, and this is a prime example, our column where it has content type, which I can't find right now. Here we go, content type. I don't want the post type to be 1 in WordPress, right? It needs to be a string, a name of that post type. So we could have something in there that would check if content type is 1, then make the field post type. I'm assuming there's a field called post type in here somewhere. I don't know. We'll have to find it. We either have to find it or we may have to modify the API. Yeah, we may have to modify the API. Not a problem. We don't need to do that right now. So what we either do is download a ready-made plugin that can handle that, or we can just write a plugin ourselves. Probably depends on, I don't know, does anybody really want to go through writing a PHP plugin? Not today, but in a future stream? Let me know. I'll think about it. Maybe we'll do that. Anyway, it would change that data. So anytime, let's say, the content type was 1, instead it would make the post type for WordPress, I don't know, let's say faculty members, right? Because we would have a post type for faculty members, so we could display their bios and stuff on the page. So, right, does that make sense? I don't know. Let me know if it doesn't make any sense at all. It'll probably make sense once we do it. So let me think. Where should we run this? I suppose we could run this right on our local machine. Right? Is there any reason why we couldn't? We have Node on this machine. We could most certainly make a JavaScript file, run it in Node, and it could handle all that. The only thing I'm worried about slightly is, I mean, let's say we add like 9,000 posts. Can the WordPress API handle that much all at once? Especially on a $10 droplet. I don't know. We could maybe set a timeout and just let it go for a long time. Or I'm sorry, you know what I mean, like an interval, right? So it would only try to send a post, I don't know, every 10 seconds or something, right? That should be enough time. All right, so let me catch up here on the live chat quickly and make sure I'm on the right track here. Okay, so Nick has clarified SQL Server Management Studio is an integrated environment for managing any SQL infrastructure. You can use it to access, configure, manage, administer, and develop all components of SQL Server. Okay, that's cool. I may look into that then at some point. Maybe after the stream today or sometime tomorrow if I can. Okay, Umberto says it sounds pretty easy to use the API since we already have the JSON file. Yeah, as soon as I saw that I could export it to JSON in one click, that was immediately what I thought about, was just use the API. Console snippets. Okay, Nick says, but if you're focused on T-SQL, Microsoft SQL Operations Studio is better for some good code snippets, customizable server and database dashboards. Okay. Einbischen says, what are you using to call and store in the database? So this is what I'm using. I assume this is what you're asking about. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is Microsoft's SQL Operations Studio, and I just found out about it yesterday. But it's an Electron app, so it runs as a desktop app, and I like it so far. I don't really have much to compare it to. The only other thing even remotely like this that I've used is like PHP MyAdmin or whatever it's called. And so far I like this a lot better. Okay, so post types is on the left column. Oh, okay, cool. Thank you. Daniel noticed post types on the left column here. Interesting. So example requests, I don't want to get them. List types, retrieve a type. Oh, you know what? Here's what I think we can do. I'm not 100% sure that we could do this by default. We still may need a plugin, but potentially we could, as long as we create the post type. Yeah, we should be able to do this. So I don't know how many of you watched the last time we created a custom WordPress plugin, but with that plugin, we created custom post types, and then we enabled them to use the WordPress API, and that's how we got data from them. I'm assuming that if we enable the API, we enable all of it, so we can also pass data in. So what we would end up doing is, let me zoom in, instead of, for those types that aren't posts, which most of them won't actually be posts because we're not even going to have a blog on this site, there'll be something else. So it would be WP V2, and then here we would say, right? And that would be the name of the type. So it wouldn't be posts and then a type over here. It would be an entirely different word right here. So I'm almost positive that that will work. And great. Great. And so Daniel, thank you so much for mentioning that, because now once I saw it, it all came back to me. It has been a little while since we've worked with the WordPress API. Let's see. Umberto says the alternative, I'm paraphrasing some, I hope you don't mind, Umberto. So the alternative to doing it through the API like I just described would be generating the table and inserting data scripts, and then potentially modifying the file to match the MySQL syntax. So, Umberto, yeah, for me, trying to think about doing that, I have no idea. I'd have to look up every step of the way, but I am very familiar with the WordPress API. So, even if the WordPress API wouldn't be the ideal way to do it, for our purposes right now and for my capabilities, it's probably going to end up being the shortest way to do it. Let's see. Michael asked if all the data was in that one table. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So this table has a lot of rows. I don't want to... If this number down here is the correct number, it's 9,683 rows. So this is it. The content table, I mean, as it seems, has all the content for the site. We can check out some of the other tables as well. Let's see. Oops. Where was it at? There we go. So there are quite a lot of tables here. So let's just check it out quickly. That way, some of you who maybe are more familiar. There we go. I'll make this obscenely big for a minute, just so you all can see. So a lot of these tables, I imagine, are pretty much empty because we don't actually use any of those features on the site, right? So we have request template. We don't have to worry about any of the template stuff because that's not being carried over. Any user stuff we don't have to worry about. A lot of the users aren't even working here anymore because they're student workers and they've graduated. Status, same like approval things. Assets. I don't think we'll worry about assets. Events. I might have to check out this content events because we have used some of their event things, but the thing with the events is once the event happens, it expires and we don't really need it anymore. So we may not even bother pulling in events because we don't really need the old events. Well, I take that back. We might just export the JSON for the events, but we won't bother putting it in the WordPress installation because we won't need them. It might be nice to have them. All right, cool. So my the account in here that's Franciscan University of Steubenville that just came into live chat. I'm pretty sure that's Brian, who works here with me. He's a full stack developer. So Brian says he knows a lot more about the content than I do. So it seems that we don't need to worry about the events. Rook asks how big the entire database is. I don't really know. But the database guy from IT, who's a really nice guy and came over and helped me this morning, he said that 80% of the size of the database is in the versions, so like the archive, which I think is it saves a history of all the changes, which we don't need any of that. So we don't have to worry about 80% of the stuff in here for sure. And then of the 20% that's left over, most of it is in this content table here. So like I said, the content table is really the vast majority of all we need to worry about. Let's see. Calendar. I don't think we use the calendar. We don't use member subscriptions. Yeah, this kind of thing, device configuration stuff, we won't need. I don't know that we use the categories extensively enough. They'll change, so we don't need that. This is the content table that we have open right now. And so this is just some stats and things. We don't need any of that. Is it content history? Maybe it's content history that's quite large as well. So coupon, currency, customers. We don't do any e-commerce. Yeah, I think we're not going to need these, most of these. Sorry, I'm scrolling through pretty quickly. I'm not sure if y'all can even see. I'll definitely run this by. I'll have Brian take a look at it since he knows more about the site, and probably my boss as well, just to scan through and see if there's anything else that looks like it might be something we need, but it does not look like it. Okay, let's see. Ambition says, is your data stored in WordPress and that's why you need to use the WordPress API? Now, I want to put it into WordPress, so that's why we're using the WordPress API. Michael asks, is it an archive or a backup? Yeah, it's a copy of the current database that's in use with, we just have read-only access to it. Daniel says, not like 8 gigabytes in a comments table, so you're good. Yeah, we don't have comments enabled anywhere, so we don't have to worry about it. Okay. Alright, so I think we're good. Michael asks, how often do you do the backup? I have no idea because we don't handle the backups. IT, if there are backups, IT handles them, so I don't really know. This backup was made very recently, I think within the last few days. Okay, let me check the time and then see what we can accomplish. Okay, let's just take a look. Let's take a look what we need. You know what? We could maybe start to write some of the node code, but we can't run it because I can't remember the password that I used to log in here. So it's not going to work unless I can remember this password. It's possible that it just wouldn't let me log in because I was trying to create something. So I guess we can make some of the yeah, we can do some of the code. We can test it out with the password as I think it is, and then if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'll wait till I get my other account and we'll go back to it. Let's see. Michael says, are you hiring? I have to work remotely though. Unfortunately, we're not. We don't hire remote workers. If we did, I'd probably be sitting in my house right now. But yeah, if we ever, I hope that we can start to hire remote at some point, at least for developers. And if we do start that, I will definitely let all of you know in the stream. Julian says, I recommend to look on the WP CLI, put the content of each post into a file, then create posts from the content. WP post create, post context, post category. And do it in bulk. Okay, that's not a bad idea. My question then would be though, assuming that we have to manipulate some of the data and change it, would it be? I'm just, at some point we'll have to do that, right? So would it make it easier to do it like that? I'll have to look into it more, I suppose. I think right now it is worth it to do a little bit of stuff in Node just right now, just to get an idea of, is this even possible? All right. So let's go to one of our editors here. Since we're dealing with Microsoft stuff, let's bring up, let's use Visual Studio Code. And I have our Electron project up, but for now I'm just going to open a new file, and let's pull in, let's save this, and in projects, and let's call this, let's do a new folder, PP migration, create, and then within here we'll just call this migrate.js. Okay, great. What message am I getting here? Whoa. For single jobs globally. Okay. I'm not really worried about ESLint right now. Let's see. Nick asks, does the database have any kind of mapping tables? I don't really know. To be entirely honest, I'm not even sure what the mapping tables are. Ambition says, isn't it great that you can broadcast at work? How boring would it be otherwise? Yeah, it does make things a little bit more exciting when everybody can see me mess up. Alright, so actually let me take, I could probably pull some of our Node code that we've used earlier. Let me think. What have we used? Now I'm thinking we need to import and use, I'd like to use node fetch. This may end up being more complicated than I'd hoped. Alright, well, I can at the very least plan out what we're going to do, and then we can go from there and see if we can code anything out. So we need to we should probably try again. Okay, so this is my basic plan. We'll get the data. We can run a filter if we really wanted to, which it may end up being useful to just to run the filter. We could either filter here, or we could go over here, and when we actually do our query, we could try to only select things that we want. We'll get a much smaller file. So I'm thinking of things that, inactive content, content that's expired, or just content that we have no intention to bring over to the new site. So however we do it, here or here, whatever we want to do, we do need to filter out the stuff we don't need. No sense in making those posts if we don't want them anymore. And then we'll go through, make the changes like we talked about so that the data is in the correct format that we need to send it. So then we'll send that post request. And then the last part here, I think it'd be a good idea, obviously, to check for errors, right? We'll get a message back saying whether or not we succeeded in our request to make a new post. So if it fails, possibly we could try again. Wait a certain amount of time, try again, and then, if it fails twice, at that point we can just log the ID. That way we have a record then of, what didn't go over. I'm hoping that the list of stuff that didn't work will be small. If it's a long list, that's going to be a pain. Okay, so Umberto is saying, so I think it's better to modify that in the node code. So here, with JavaScript, doing it in one place rather than find and replace in a text file. That's cool. I agree, and I'm much more comfortable editing it, through Node. I mean, think about how many times we've done the same thing, in our React components when we've made an API call and changed things in the data before we rendered it, right? So this will be very familiar to us. Next thing, get the data from the JSON with bulk and open row set. All right, Nick, I'm interested in hearing more about that because I'm not exactly sure what the benefit is from that or anything. But if you could explain it a little bit more to me, since my knowledge of this kind of thing is very limited, I would appreciate it. Daniel says, unless you've got that client that says, I need everything. Yeah, luckily, my boss is perfectly fine with getting rid of all the stuff that we don't need. Like I said, I think it's worthwhile to save everything in, at the very least, save it in JSON format, and then, keep backups of that. So that at some point, if we ever really need to find a piece of content, it wouldn't be that hard to just search for it. I don't want to keep these databases alive, as is anywhere, because that takes up, this website and these databases are hosted physically on campus by the IT department. So it would save them time and money. They'll be able to reuse those servers for other things if we could just completely get rid of it all. So that's the plan. So any backups that we want, I guess at first we could do a test. Yeah, let's do a test. All right, let me see what time is first. Let's see. I'm going to bring in node fetch because I like to use fetch. I'm not really interested in doing it any other way. Let's see. I guess I'll have to init this project then with. All right, let's go in the console. This is kind of why I'm wondering whether or not I should do this. There we go. Let's see the immigration. There we go. And if I could just type yarn, will it init? Alright, there we go. Question, name, DB. Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. Entry point, index.js. Whatever. All this stuff, I guess, doesn't even really matter. Yep. True, right? True. There we go. Okay, so now let's do yarn add npm. Ooh, I mean node. Node fetch. Okay, wonderful. Whoops. So let's go with. Let's pull in that that file and put it in the right spot. So right now we just have that in documents, and I want it in a project. So sorry, this is really small, probably hard to see, but let's just pull this over. We called it results.json. Yes. So let's pull that over, and I'm not even going to make folders. This is basic. We don't even need folders for this. I am going to make it lowercase because it bothers me. There we go. So we have our results.json. Great. All right. So let's go fetch. That's JSON. No. Need to like look at an example. It's been so long since I've actually wrote one of these from scratch. Alright, let's check this out. Trying to think of the last project where we did this. I think we've used this in pretty much every project. Yeah, we've done this with the bulletin, the React version of the bulletin. So let's check that out. And we're using node fetch there. Alright, cool. I'm going to copy and paste this over here. We've got quite a lot going on here. So We need, let's do, all right, I'll explain a little bit of this. So do we even need this? No, we don't need all of this. So let's get rid of this. We can get rid of that. I don't like the semicolons, so let's get rid of this. Fetch. Okay, this should be what we need. No, it's not. It should just be. Actually, we don't even need most of this. Right? Yeah. I think we're doing very different things. Okay. No, obviously we can't use async await unless I put in. Let me check back here and make sure I'm not doing something ridiculous. Okay. Yeah, let's put back in this, and we'll take this out. There we go. Need that on another line right now. This one, and then let's return. Let's go with. Actually, you know what? I think we did this exact thing in a previous project. Which project was it? It's the Resource Center. Let's check it out. It's really nice to have all these projects that we've done to just be able to go back to and say, oh, we've done that. Where are we at? All right, so it wasn't, we weren't doing it in Node, but it should still work the same. All right, let's do this. Oops. Import. Just call this data from. There we go. Now I don't even need to worry about any of this stuff yet. let's get rid of it, but then let's set it down here because we will be using fetch for our post requests. But for now, we can just grab the data. Let's see. Okay. All right, so let's just go just to make sure that we're actually getting the data. Let's console log and let's go data. Where's my format? Okay. Alright, I'm not sure if this will work, but it's worth a shot. Let's go back to our terminal, wherever that is. Okay. So we're in here. Let's go node. Whoa. Let me make this bigger. Sorry, everybody. Alright, node. Syntax error. What do I do? Import. Unexpected imports. Oh, shoot. Maybe I can't use that syntax in here. Let's do. It's data equals require. It's automatically. Is it? Automatically putting in semicolons. Thought I kept taking it out of there. I need to change my settings. Okay, let's try this now. Nope. Can I find module results? Oh shoot, it's not a module. Okay, we got to change this and make it a module. So where's our? Oops. Alright, if I just double click it in here, it should work. Language results. It's going to be a huge file. Wow. Wow. I don't know, did everyone just see that speed? I'm really impressed. I mean, this is a gigantic file. Wow. Good job, Visual Studio Code. Why is this not highlighted properly? It should be. Interesting. Okay. So let's do data. And let's change this because now it's going to be a JavaScript file. And we're going to change. I need to rename it. Why can I not rename this thing? Alright. Let's just rename it from here then. Great. Deleted from disk. Great. Okay. There we go. Let's do data. I wonder if I'm not getting highlighting because the file's just too big and it's taking forever. I don't know. Alright, let me check back here for a second. Okay, cool. All right, Nick, I see Nick explained a lot more about what he was talking about. Thanks, Nick. I'm definitely going to look into more of what you're talking about. Okay. Thanks, Umberto. I understand. So Umberto was explaining a little bit more about what he's talking about, so I appreciate that. I'm not even sure if this is correct syntax and will work, but I'll give it a shot. If it doesn't work out, then I'll double check. Actually, what am I thinking? I can definitely double check right now because I have a data file that has the same thing on my other screen that we used for project. What was it? Was it project? I can't remember. I think project 3, whatever the Resource Center React project was. Yep, that's it. That is the correct syntax. See, I should have just tried it, and then I would have looked more intelligent, I suppose. All right, so let's do this now. Let's go back into here. Oops. Nope, that wasn't it. We'll go into here, and we really need. So what happened before? I tried to. All right, let's just see if this actually will work. So this is not exactly how I was bringing it in. No, it shouldn't. This is probably not going to work, but it'll only take a second to run it again. Yep, doesn't work. Yes. Let's see. Cannot find results.js. Oh. Should I throw in a dot slash? Could it be that easy? Whoa. Yes. Alright, cool. Export costs. Alright. So now it's upset that I'm exporting it. Alright. Alright. Can I use import in Node? I don't know. Let's just try it. Oops, not require. Alright, let's try that out. Unexpected token import. Okay, I guess I can't use that with Node. Alright, so cool. So Rook's saying module exports in Node, not okay, cool. Let's see. Oh no, I just saw. So Christian said you might also have some fun coming up with the fact that all the numbers seem to have been parsed as strings. Didn't notice that before, but you are correct. Alright, module.exports in Node, not export like module. Alright, so let's switch it up then. So Rook, is this what you're saying, to do it more like this, module exports, and then what I have to do, module import? I should just look up the syntax. I don't know what I'm, module import. Oh, okay, so I got the, alright, let's see. Module import. Is it not letting me? No, it's not. Alright, I'm gonna have to look this up. Module exports and the results, JS file, and then .require, and then migrate. Okay, so I do have to do require. Alright, so let's just jump back here. Oops. There we go. Alright, require, and then module exports. Alright, let's see what this is doing. Oops, exports. Okay, thank you, Rook, so much. This is super helpful. So Rook is actually typing in the correct syntax that I need. Whoops, I'm in the wrong file. So I don't need all this. I can just do module exports, and then that should work. Awesome. Thanks again, Rook. That was like super helpful. Whoa, yeah, check it out. Yes. Okay. That part is working. Oh my goodness, there's so much. Okay, so I'm trying to scroll up so we can see the top. Okay, so here's what we did. If you remember, our migrate, oops, keep going the wrong way. Our migrate.js file, all it was doing was grabbing the data from our JSON data, which now is in a JavaScript file, so it's just an array of objects, right? And I just wanted to console log the first object in that array, and it has done that, right? We could double check. This in fact is that object. So we have all of this, right? Awesome. Awesome. And we could potentially, to take it a step further, just to test out some of the things that we want to do, let's go with, let's just see if this works. So I want to grab this content ID, and let's try this. I still want to do a console log, but first I want to do data.filter, and we want to do object, and we're going to do object dot, what was that field called? Content ID. Content ID equals, let's go, whoops, I already copied that. There we go. No, that's not it, huh? It's not gonna work for me here. Oops. I'm gonna have to do it like this. Oops, what is it called? Object. Will that work? Oh, man, I've been reviewing other people's code for way too long instead of writing it from scratch. I've been spoiled by you all. I can't remember any syntax. Alright, well, let's just save it. The goal is I should get back the same result as I had before, but what we're doing now is making sure that we can filter this stuff out. So it's basic, it should work, assuming I got the syntax right, which is, I don't know, we'll see. This should, what did it do? Object, console log object, okay. So we didn't pass this. What am I doing wrong? Do I need to, alright, let's do it like this. Yeah, hold on. Map. Post. Post. Alright. Let's see if that works. Yeah, that worked. Okay. I always get confused with filter and how to access what it returns. But I know if I use filter and map together, it always works. Okay, Rook. Sorry, Rook. I just saw that now, so I did not have to do it that way. But it proved the point of, at that point, what we've done there is we were actually able to filter out and just get one of those. Now, we obviously wouldn't want to filter by content ID, right? But we would want to filter by some of those other fields that we had talked about before, such as like post type, or whatever the equivalent is. I think it's called content type or something. You know, we might, oh, sorry. We might want to filter by date, you know, different things like that. I'm going to have to give, so I'm not going to code out the rest of this because it's about time for me to leave and go home. So I'm not going to code the rest, but you can see basically how it's going to work, right? So this part here should not be an issue. We just follow the instructions on the API documentation, and that should it should work. This is basically, we've already done everything that we want to do for the most part. It's just a matter of making it a bit more complex, doing more filtering, and then mutating the data somewhat. Filter map entries. Yeah, so we actually didn't need to get the data. So that part, for whatever crazy reason, I was attempting to use fetch to get local data that was just going to be in a static file. So thank you for bearing patiently with me. I really need to change this. I can't stand these semicolons. But anyway, thank you for bearing patiently with me as I struggled through that very basic node file there. But it basically works. And I was really worried about that size of that JSON file. Like, what the heck is going to happen when I run this? And you saw it didn't take very long. So I have a lot more confidence now. It may not seem like it, but we've come very, very far in terms of having a clear idea now of how exactly we can transfer the data, at least into WordPress. So it still remains to be seen whether or not we will go with WordPress, but right now it's definitely the front runner for the CMS, and we really can't afford to wait too much longer to make a decision. So WordPress might end up being just the default because I haven't found anything else that I like to use. So I'd say it's a pretty good possibility that we're going to be going with WordPress at this point. And now we know, at least from the first part, we can be pretty confident that this is going to work. Yeah, so anyway, definitely got a lot done. There's a lot I can go tell my boss now that has been tested and that works, and he will be very happy with that, as well as a lot of the other people here involved in the project will be very relieved, because this was the big question. It was always, I can definitely get this done by February, assuming that we can get the data transferred over. That was always the big if. That was the caveat. So now it looks like that'll work out, so I'm very confident we can get this project delivered on time. Okay, cool. Brian says Keystone JS is a JS-based CMS. I have looked at Keystone before. I need to look at it a little bit more in depth and maybe actually install it and play with it. The last time I checked, it was... I'll have to double check, 'cause it's been a while. It's been a while since I've used it. I'll have to check it out again. I'm sure it's been updated since the last time I really kind of dug into it. So I will definitely check that out very soon, because we need to make a decision on this. But anyway, thank you so much for sticking around. There's actually not that many people left in the stream. It seems that databases is not a popular topic for videos based on the amount of people that came in. Lower than normal, but to all 16 of you who have stuck around to the end, thank you very much. I should be back tomorrow. I haven't really checked my schedule for tomorrow, so hopefully I can stream at my normal time. Thank you so much again. I probably look tired right now, but I am actually really happy. This is a big relief that we figured so much of this out, and I don't think I could have got this far this fast without your help. So most likely I'll be back tomorrow, and until then, have a wonderful day.